I'm Paul Jodka, joined by former New South Wales Origin 5'8" Josh Reynolds today to talk about the New South Wales Blues potential team for Game 1 in Sydney, Wednesday, June 5. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, mate.
First of all, it's been 10 years since that historic New South Wales Series victory that you were an integral part of. What similarities do you see with that side? 8 years of not claiming the Origin Shield, and the side this year only tasted one series success in the past 4 years.
Yeah, makes me feel old when we say it was 10 years ago. But yeah, look, it is not as bad, not as 8 years bad, but it is. There is a bit of something about Queensland, like they just win. They just win, and even we probably have had better sides as well over the last couple of years. But this is what Origin's about. No one really cares about, I'm going to name my team sheet and the Queensland, but it doesn't matter. It's whoever wants to show up on the night, and it's a big occasion. So I hope the Blues boys can sort of just, backs against the wall, injuries here, there and everywhere. So it's going to be a bit interesting series. Interesting series, new coach, Michael Maguire.
So he could be picking guys out of the box. Everyone's talking about it. So let's put your team in. Let's start with the fullback. Are you picking and sticking? The captain, James Tedesco, has he kept the role?
Absolutely. He's probably nearly my number one pick. And I just love what Teddy does on and off the field. He represents the Roosters and the Blues, with passion, and I love it. And then everyone calls for, a change and this and that, but very short memories. He's actually won so many Origin games, and he's just always, sniffing around the ruck looking for opportunities. So yeah, he's definitely the one for me.
Now Tedesco nearly opens them up. He got ankle tapped again. That's the second time they've just stopped him.
What about the wingers? There's been some in-form Blues wingers going around the NRL at the moment. Who are you picking for 2 and 5?
Yeah, for me it's Brian To'o and the Fox.
Yeah.
They both played in that arena multiple times, and I feel for wingers it's about your back 5 carries, and then you got two of your best right there, and you feel safe. But I think they're the two guys that when they kick long, they're the ones that are going to be bringing it off the back fence and starting our sets how we want to.
Now, you mentioned injuries, and centres are a key part where there has been a few guys go down. So which direction are you leaning for the centres?
Well, the best defensive centre in the game is quite easy, and that's Crichton, Stevie Crichton. And I just think he suits Origin to a T.
Big game player.
Big game player. He always knows, always making the right reads in defence. But my other one is Suoliti. I just think he's formed for the Roosters, especially in the centres. He's got a great carry also, so he's sort of a winger and a centre, so he can do both. But the Roosters sometimes lose their way in sets, and then they've just been giving it to Suoliti, getting on the outside of his centre and a little flick pass. It's just classy, and that might be the one big moment that the Blues might need.
OK, we need to get to it. The halves, it's on the tip of everyone's lips. But who's your 6 and 7?
Yeah, look, Matty Burton's my 6. Just an out-and-out mould body shape that suits Origin. He's a big body, and especially him at the moment. Us at Bulls, we've got Hutcho guiding us around the park, and Birdo's just running, and we can see the recent form he has had, and I've just been really, really happy with his support play. So I think Matty's our 6, and I've picked Nico for our 7. He's been unbelievable this year for the Sharkies. The Sharkies aren't going well, for an unknown reason. He's their man. He's the guy who's getting around the park. He's had an interesting Origin experience for his first game, but I think now's his time. This is Nico's team, and I think he's going to take it, I take it with both hands and say, look, everyone, I am an Origin player.
Let's go to the forwards now. It's always tough in the engine room at Origin time. So who are your props going to be?
So I've gone with Payne Haas up front and Jakey Trbojevic. They complement each other. Payne is, going to create havoc, and he's going to run and bust tackles, but then Jakey can do a lot of the clean-up work in defence and just be that maybe, we've obviously got, you'll see a bit later, Yo in the team, but Jakey can also play that little bit of ball playing in the middle, and I feel safe when both those guys are out there. So, they're my 2 starting front rows.
And you're locked. You hinted at it.
So that's Isaiah Yo. He's just an out-and-out competitor. We see it week in, week out. But he's my linchpin in the middle. Obviously, I feel Origin's about getting in between the markers, in between A and B. But there is a time where he's going to have to step up and get a few of our forwards around the park. So, he's my lock.
Dummy half. There's a few good contenders. A lot of guys have been playing really well. Which way are you leaning?
We're going with Appy. I love his skill around the ruck. It's so his deception is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's what you need in Origin. I feel it's not about all the big plays. It's about winning that ruck, and not even just in defence, but in attack also. And he, puts these runners into those holes that we need. So yeah, he's an out-and-out Origin player.
Playing great.
Unbelievable. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Florissell off a loose ball out of nowhere.
What about your second rowers? Because there's some players this year have really, let's say, they've gone in shining lights, right?
Probably the toughest selection for me,
Yep.
because you've got guys in there that have done the job before and whatnot, but I've just gone on out-and-out form this year, and it's Angus Crichton and Young for me.
Yeah.
It's just Hudson Young for me. He's mentioned himself he hasn't been happy with what he done in the Origin arena, so he seems like a guy that would want to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
And then you've just sort of got Crichton, who's just been too hard to stop, and we need that. We need someone that's going to do something a bit different.
This will be a try for New South Wales.
I like Hudson Young. He's in your face.
He's got that old school.
He won't take a backwards
He's
step,
like
mate.
a throwback player.
Yeah, so yeah, just unbelievable back row, and that's where I think we can really, really hurt Queensland at times.
And your bench, how are you kind of trying to cover? Because obviously injuries has been a big thing this year, and you want to cover everyone. Where are you going for your bench?
Well, this was a hard decision for me, and I sort of am swayed. It could go either way. So I've got Cam McInnes as my 14, just because he's a warrior. What he does for the Sharks is just unbelievable, and he's a guy that you want playing next year.
Yeah.
Not only just for he just gets in behind the ruck so much. He's obviously the cover for Appy as well, if we need him there. And I could have actually started him, to be honest. Maybe start him, let him take the brunt of it, because he loves that stuff.
Yeah.
He's got the no teeth. He's just loving the contest. But
Made for Origin.
I just think he'll come on. His leg speed will be unbelievable. And I've actually picked Mitch Barnett.
Yes.
I think he's ready.
People forget about him because he's playing for the Warriors, but
Exactly
he's
right.
been in very good form, and in fact he's taken over the captaincy with a couple of their other players injured.
You're exactly right, mate. No, we sort of forget about guys like that because they're a bit far away, but especially on the weekend, he stood up.
Yeah.
He knew his team had no Sean Johnson, I think no Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, no leaders, and he just said, boys, jump on my back, and I think he's ready. He's same as Hudson Young. He's not taking a backward step from anyone.
No. And who else have you got there? Because there's some other players that are knocking down the door for selection.
Well, this was it. Liam Martin was a tough one for me, but he's on my bench. He's a great start. And this is nothing on him. I just feel with them two boys starting the game in the back row, he can just come on, have that impact. And when everyone's a bit lazy and lethargic, he can come on and put that a little extra kick pressure or kick chase, come up, force an error, and change the game.
And he can play left, he can play right, he can play in the middle if needed.
And he doesn't care where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And the last one for me is Talakai from the Sharkies.
Going that utility.
Yeah, just because he can play back in the backs, in the centres, like we've seen him play most of his career, but now he's come back in the back row, but he's also been playing in the middle for the Sharkies.
Amazing, isn't he?
And
It's hard to stop.
He's been changing games for him at the back end of games, and that's what it might come down to. It's going to be a really tough series. So I don't know where we're going to win it or lose it, but I think he can just have a moment, and it might be the one that wins us the series.
Well, let's have a look at that team, because I tell you what, on paper it looks pretty good, and maybe New South Wales can get it over the line. But well done, Josh.
Thank
this
you,
is
mate.
a great looking team.
Yeah, thank you.